Hi everyone. Hope all you guys are doing good and is doing well. So this time we are coming up with a new topic, one more new topic. You can consider this topic as a hot topic within Office 365 because that moreover is being related with a compliance level of a topic, and which is being the most important service also provided by Office 365. So, starting with me, my name is Rizwan, and I am one of the senior consultants with Alif Consulting. And today, as I've already told you, that we are going to talk about retention, all the retention policies which are there in Office 365, and how we would be dealing with this retention policies, and what is the use of that. So, when we talk about retention policies, in order to get it started from a documentation perspective or from a definitions perspective, it is pretty easy, as the word itself says that retention. Why retention, and why what is the requirement for retention? Definitely no one amongst us is here to be able to invest so much on the storage side that we have n number of incorporative data that we need to get it preserved. But yes, there is some investigation points perspective and certain other various measures due to which we need to keep things in mind, that why do we require retention and what is the need of that. So why retention? That's second thing. But what is retention? So retention is basically to be able to allow hold on any kind of your data which for which you would feel that I would not like this amount or this type of data to be getting and deleted. So when we speak about Office 365, it could be related with anything, meaning it could be your email contact, like your emails, your notes, your tasks, your calendar entries. When it comes to SharePoint, it could be your personal SharePoint storage container. When it comes to OneDrive, it could be your OneDrive personal storage. And similarly, it gets and applied to Teams as well as to other sources medium. So why do we require to get that amount of data to be retained? So let's say when we are working in as an active organization, and as an active user, and let's say if there's any attack on the organization's mailbox, whether that attack was like a bulky attack or a single user attack, and retention was already in place for you. So ideally, you need not worry. Even if the attacker thinks that the attack which he managed to work by deleting your emails, and if the only motive of the attacker was to just delete the data, so that is never going to happen if you as an active user have a retention policy enabled on your mailbox or on your object. So it depends on what your organization has enabled retention, or they've simply not turned it on, because it is a license based feature, wherein if you would be having a license like an E1 E3 license, you would be getting in these features available for your organization as well as for your mailboxes. Okay, so this is all about retention. And now why we require it? So there are many companies I have seen, wherein a company strength with more than 50,000 users or 1 lakh 5 lakh users. So what these companies do is, whenever their user leaves the organization, so they do not have an idea, like just from compliance perspective, they'd like to keep the data due to some regulatory obligations from countries purposes or some compliance reason. So they keep the data for 18 months, 1 year, 5 year, or whatever the defined period is, just to ensure that in case if they would require some data to be extracted from that mailbox or from that object's container, they can easily get it done. Some hold the data for investigative purposes, that if anything is being required to be able to get it gathered and extracted from that specific amount of the container, they can easily get it done using a retention. And it is pretty easy to be able to get that data from compliance point of view from an exchange or an Office 365 administrator, that is a global administrator. And the third thing is, whenever a user goes away, in order if someone would not like to use this retention policy, as I've told you, this is actually a retention, um, a license based feature when it comes to movement of emails. But let's say if you would be applying a global retention policy, so at that time no licenses are actually required and you can simply put the data on hold. But that would be an organization wide policy and not a user level policy. Retention, you'd get it both the ways, on a user level as well as on an organization level. So for user level, it would be paid service because you have to use the services when your license is there. But let's say for some users who leaves the organization, so what the organization or the management for those kind of small organizations would prefer is that once the user would leave, there is no point of keeping that user's data, whether in an active format or in an inactive format. And what these guys tend to do is they remove the licenses. So once the licenses gets removed, automatically it would be a complete loss when it whichever service the user has, whether it's a OneDrive, it's a SharePoint, it's an Exchange service. So they do not tend to keep that data. So what they do is they apply the organization wide retention policy, so that the data is intact. And from Exchange's view, just for mails purposes, what they do is they just convert the user mailbox to a shared mailbox if the storage size is less than 50 gigs. So they convert those mailboxes to a shared mailbox. So what it does is, irrespective of even your hundreds or 500s of users leave the organization, and if their mailbox so storage size is less than 550 GB, then in that case they'll just convert it to a shared mailbox. So with this way, even the data would be saved within Office 365. There is no use of a license. The user object would still be present, but yes, sign-ins would be disabled for that, as shared mailboxes by default sign-ins are blocked and no one would be able to access the mailboxes directly without being having a delegate access. So also for these purposes, retention is also being used widely. Now, as we have discussed earlier, what are the retention action? Why retention and why retention action? So why retention? Yes, in order to retain the data. But this would be, like more oftenly taken into a consideration wherein it would be a scenario wherein organization-wide policies would get applied. Now, deleting. There are some users in the organization who are heavy users. When I say heavy users, their mailboxes gets piled up or filled. Like for a normal user, maybe it would take 1 gigs of emails to be getting and loaded to his mailbox at least 1 year or more than that. But there are some users, let's say if I'm only having a 50 gigs of a mailbox, and if I'm an HR or someone from the from the email or from the sales team, who is continuously, his job is to continuously send emails and receive emails. So for those people, it is quite likely that the 20 GB or 30 GB mailbox can easily get in piled up within first 6 months. So maybe after a year or two, they can come to you starting saying that, hey, I have this 50 gigs of a mailbox, but what I see is this mailbox is being completely full. Now what next? So as an option, if the person is not being willing to take up the next plan, that is Exchange Online Plan 2, easily he can pay some more amount and he can get it converted, upgraded from a plan 1 which gives you 50 GB to be upgraded to plan 2 which would give you 100 GB. So the person would say, no, I want to get my emails deleted because I'm not in the position to pay this, or I simply do not want to pay this. I am ready deleting the emails because the previous emails are of no use to me, and you can easily go ahead and delete these emails. So in that case, what we would do is we would apply a retention policy with the help of some retention tags. And what these tags would do is, this tags would take care that whichever email, when I say tags, there are some policies, yes, like delete emails after 6 months, 1 month. There are also some custom tags. We are going to learn on that when I'd be sharing the remote sharing. So what these tags are responsible for is, once these tags gets in applied with the deletion action, we would be applying those retention tags, and with the help of that, the emails would easily start getting and deleted. And once the email gets started as deleting, so automatically the mailbox which was filled till 50 gigs, it would then start get down, and a place would come that it would go till 3 GB, 5 GB, based on whatever retention action we have set on the basis of the tag. Let's say if I have only keep the tag as just keep 1 month's email, and anything which is older than 30 days for that mailbox, just delete it. So as per the policy, it is only going to keep the emails in all the folders, that is inbox, sent items, custom folders, for one single month. And anything which is older than it, it is going to delete that as per the policy we have applied for that mailbox. So that thing goes with the deletion action, and the retaining would be pretty much similar. So there are some users who would be like these heavy users, they'd go with plan 2, and a point would come that even plan 2 is filled, because for a user mailbox, irrespective of the highest license you purchase, you're not getting more than 100 GB. So what after that? After that, it would be archiving. The moment you would be enabling archiving, it would give you 100 GB of archiving. at a point, the point would come even that archiving would get fulfilled, then we'll have auto expanding archiving, which goes you and gives the data till 1.5 terabyte. So all these things, like the emails movement from your primary mailbox to your archive mailbox, is done with the help of retention tags using a service called as MRM, which we are going to learn in our next coming sessions. So retaining and deleting are the only two actions which are being supported by the retention policies, and you can easily get this done whenever you would be making use of the retention policy. So these are some retention principles which you need to understand. So these would only be coming into the picture when you would be applying retention tags. Let's say for one single mailbox you have applied two tags, like I would like to get this email deleted for which is 2 months older, and the second one would be I would like to keep the emails, retain the emails for 1 year. So always keep in mind these two would be having a conflict with the same mailbox. So whenever there is a conflict, always the things which comes and takes into the picture is retention, because retention would be having the highest precedence over deletion. You see the first point, retention wins over deletion. So if there are two similar tags acting on the same mailbox, so any tag which has a retention with it, that is going to win. Longest retention period wins. Let's say if I have two or three four tags with the same mailbox, one with 1 week, and the second tag with 1 month, the third tag with 1 year, and the fourth tag with 10 years. So which tag is going to get applied? The one with highest retention period. Okay, so this is what it says, explicit wins over implicit. So if I would be applying any such tags, now what does explicit and implicit means, I'm going to tell you in the next coming in this session, that it goes on tags. We have three types of tags: DPT, RPT, and PPT. So PPT is the one which takes in the highest precedence, and we are going to just learn that shortest deletion period wins. So with deletion, it is the vice versa. If you have four tags, delete the email after 10 years, delete the email after 1 year, delete the email after 1 month, and delete the email after 1 week. So it is going to catch the nearest win, that is 1 week. So anything which is older than 1 week, it is going to get deleted. So the remaining three tags, though they are applied to the mailbox, but they are not going to apply. Why? Because there was a conflict with the tags. This is all from my side for this one, and we are quickly going to discuss these points. Okay, these points with the help of the retention tags. And how does it gets in calculated is, okay, so let me check if this thing gets in applied to the classic exchange admin center. So this one to me looks, I'm much more comfortable using these tags. So these are the things, you see, retention policies and retention tags. So first, the very first thing which we need to get it created is these tags. So these tags are incubated within these policies. So by default this is the policy, and if you see the default MRM policy which has these many tags, so these are the tags which are getting generated from this portal. You can also go ahead and create your own retention tag. When you click on it, it gives you three options. You see, this one would be getting and applied to the entire mailbox, that is called as DPT, the default one, the RPT. And if this one over here applies automatically to a default folder, so this is RPT, DPT, default tag, retention tag, and this one would be personal tag. So amongst these three types of tags, personal ones are the ones who are always going to take the precedence. Okay, so we need to keep these things in mind, that whenever we apply a personal tag, we can also get this applied from directly the mailbox, meaning we can the user has to manually apply these tags. These two would be automatic. I'll quickly tell you what I'm trying you to say. There are some personal tags as well which gets in applied directly to the folder. So you see the types are personal over here. So if you're going to apply the personal tags, only the personal tags are going to get applied. Let's say this, for this folder, if I need to assign the policy, you see this personal 1 year move to archive personal. So unless and until I'll be coming to this option and applying this policy, it is not going to apply. So personal ones are the manual ones. So always go with the first option which says as default, because it gets in applied to the entire mailbox, and this one in over here say applied automatically to the default folder. Now what do you mean by default folder? These are default folders which you cannot delete: inbox, sent items, deleted items, junk email, notes. If I would be, you see this my office 365 important, so this one is a custom folder wherein I can easily delete this folder. You see, delete folder. But if you try to do the same with this one, the option is grayed out. So whichever are default folders, these over there you can apply these tags. So meaning if you would apply these tag, so that tag is only going to apply for sent items, inbox, junk emails and all these, and it is not going to apply on custom folders. So you can just go with the first one which says as default tag. And what does the option within that? If I click on this, you see it is giving me only these three options: delete and allow recovery, that is the action actually, not the content; permanently delete the email; or move to archive. Retention period, if I want to retain the item, this is the one, move to archive. And if I select the number of days in over here as 365, so you see days, so that email or the content, the tag would simply say that retain the email items for 365 days, that is 1 year. So with this way retention tags gets created, and once retention tags are created, you can easily create your own retention policy. So this is the way through which you apply the policy. I applied this policy, and see what does this policy says. So within the policy, I have applied a default tag which says whichever emails of mine which are older than 2 years, move those emails to archive, to the archiving folder. And that is the default tag which would be retained for 2 years, and that is for archiving only. This is the one which says 5 years delete email, and that is a personal tag type. So unless I would be manually applying this on any one of the folder, it is not going to get applied. Okay, so these are the two tags which I have defined into one of my policy. Now if I want to get this applied to a mailbox, so how to do that? So let's say this is my mailbox. By default, what you would see that on every mailbox, whichever mailbox you would open, you would see the default tag getting applied. You see retention policy. So I have two policies, so ideally I should be able to see the other one as well, and there it is. If I apply this, so automatically this policy gets in applied, and whichever would be the tags would be created and would be configured within that, automatically that tags would be there, and whichever emails which I would be having after 2 years, automatically all those emails would start getting moving to the archive folder if I would apply this. If the default one is there, by default Microsoft has just created a default policy which actually does nothing. I'll tell you why. And there's also a thing called as no policy. So if we go to compliance management again and open the default policy, by default there is each and every tag applied into this. If you see personal, each and every tag is there. Now as per the precedence level, what it says is lowest deletion would be taking place. So if you see this deletion, and if you see, there is no default tag applied. You see, all of them are personal. There's only one default one, the one which I've created and manually, and I've added that tag in over here. So this is the one. Apart from that, if you would see, there should be no default tag getting in created. So all of them are personal, unless you would be manually applying it to the folders you would like to get deleted. It would not take action. And still, even if I would be having this, let's say if I would apply these option, that it would take the precedence that 1 week delete. The shortest one is this one, but even this is not going to get triggered. Why? Because within deletion and retaining, retaining would always take precedence, and I have retained ones as well beneath. You see, never delete. So this one is the largest one for unlimited time. So till the time I have this tag, none of my contents are going to get removed. So that is the reason Microsoft just gives you these options. In order, if you need to apply any one of this, you can just apply it, apply to the mailbox, and then get it started. So this is all about retention. And apart from this, you also have a retention applied in the security and compliance pane, where I was talking about the organization wide retention policy. I'll quickly show you that policy, how that is also configured. And if that policy is assigned, none of the contents would be moved from here and there. So it would be there under information governance and retention. So this is all the compliance portal. Now if you see, the link has been smartly redirected from protection.office.com to compliance.microsoft.com. And these are my retention policies. I may have created one of the policies in the past. There it is. So this one was being created by me. Okay, now what does these policies says? It is just going to give you a quick glimpse of that, because if you need to edit this, you have to come or go through this option. This is just going to show you the overview of the policy, as if what does the policy looks like. So applies the content to this location. So my retention policy is only getting applied for exchange services. A retain period, keep content forever. So none of my emails are actually going to get deleted. Now if you need to check how, this is the option which you would click. So if I click on edit, I'll click on next. I'll keep this as static, because previewing mode would be giving every time it would be generating some URLs for some SharePoint or stuff, it is going to get it updated. So I'll always keep it in the static mode, and there it is. Let's say if I click on exchange, entire exchange, and if I want to include any one of the user, if I do not include this user, whichever users, even if there are 1 lakh users, it would be getting it applied to all those 1 lakh users. But I just need to enable the policy, and what I'm saying is this, just apply this policy for one of these recipient and not for all of it. So it would just get applied to that one single user. Similarly, if I'm going to click on SharePoint sites, all of the sites would be taken into consideration. There's OneDrive, there's groups, there's Skype, there's Exchange public folders. You see, only one of my mailbox is being attached with this retention policy, which is my shared mailbox. You see, these are the action items. Retain items for a specific period, only delete the items when they reach out to a certain age. If I click on this option, then if I select that retain the items for 5 years, so once that 5 years limit is reached, automatically once it's past the five years date, on the next day it would check with it and it would automatically delete the content as per the policy. But what I've selected is retain items forever. Okay, so this one would be giving you a quick glimpse of it, and if I click on submit, which is already done, this policy would start getting updated. And any changes made to this security or compliance portal, even if you would be making a slight or a small change over here, keep one thing in mind, that this propagation may take in time up to 24 hours, a 1 day time, as per being recommended by Microsoft. So always keep a thing in mind that whenever you would be making a change, always allow it some time for propagation so that it works functionally well. Okay, this is all from my side for this specific video. If you have any queries or questions for me, feel free to drop me an email on info@alifconsulting.com. That would be all from my side. You take care of yourself and you stay safe and have a great day. Bye bye.